The Louisiana legislature begins its fiscal-only session Monday, April 27th. Legislators have pre-filed more than 700 bills, but only a handful deal with agriculture. To get a better feel for what the session has in store, we turn now to A.J. Sabine with this week's special guest. A.J.?
Joining us now is the very dapper Joe Mapes, who is the Louisiana Farm Bureau's legislative director, and he is here to talk to us about the upcoming session next week. And this year, it's all about the budget.
AJ, precisely. We are entering into a fiscal session only, which means that legislation primarily is going to deal with the budget, the fisc of the state's budget. However, we can file up to 744 bills total, 5 per legislator, not related to the budget. That being said, the budget's going to take precedent. We've got a shortfall this year. Bigger than that, we've got an even bigger shortfall, probably over $2 billion coming next year. We've got to start preparing for that along with the rest of the country. In that vein, we are seeing that tempers are already starting to flare by legislators in committee hearings prior to the session, which begins April 27th, about 10 days from now. Usually you don't see those tempers flare until the end of a session as we start to get tighter and tighter in budget discussions, and after we've had a chance to talk about some of the higher profile non-budget related issues. I think what we're going to see is some of those issues are going to take back burner, and I definitely believe that the budget cuts are going to take the front burner.
I want to ask you about some high profile stuff that we're hearing. We're hearing some stuff about the Ag Center maybe moving back under the control of the Baton Rouge campus. What's the deal with that?
Well, you know, that type of discussion comes up from time to time. The LSU Ag Center was removed as separate from the LSU University itself in 1972. There was a weaning process in the beginning. But after that, we've stood on our own. Our budget comes from the state's general fund. And so, you know, from time to time when we're looking at funding our budget or cutting our budget, some people start to talk about possibly getting us back under the LSU University itself. We don't want to be there. Farm Bureau doesn't want the LSU Ag Center there. We don't see that happening. But again, you do hear that discussion from time to time when the Ag Center's budget comes up for discussion.
I know when we've talked about a fiscal session, we're also talking about taxes. What's going on with the Homestead Exemption, and how is it going to impact Louisiana's farmers and ranchers?
Well, the Homestead Exemption is something that is discussed as far as a piece of legislation that's filed every year, AJ. And it doesn't usually get much attention. The reason it's getting more attention this year than most years prior is because you've got a petition out there that was started some months back, and you got about 50,000 signatures that have been drummed up. That's still a small percentage of the 2-point-some-odd million registered voters that are out there. I think it's going to have a broader discussion than it's gotten in a long time, but I still don't predict. We don't see that legislation going anywhere. So the net effect to farmers is it would be no effect at all. No, that bill shouldn't pass.
Is there anything else going on with taxes, such as the death tax, which is a huge deal for Louisiana's farmers?
Nothing that we've seen as of today. Of course, the bills can continue to be filed until this Friday, April 17th, and we'll see bills entered into the system all the way into mid next week. The only other major tax that seems to be getting high-profile media attention is a tax on tobacco products, chewing tobacco, as well as smokeless tobacco, as well as all your smoke products. And again, I don't think that that's a timely thing to be considering with all the budget cuts that are going to affect the citizens all the way down to the level back home. I don't see something like that passing either.
I wanted to ask you one last thing. There was some good news for farmers, particularly poultry farmers up in North Louisiana with the Farmerville thing. But you said that's really a statewide economic thing. There are some critics saying that Superfund shouldn't be used. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked about that, AJ, because it is our job. It's part of our job in agriculture to help people understand that is not related only to agriculture. It is not related only to farming, and it's not only related specifically to poultry farming. This is a statewide economic development initiative. It affects every corner of the state. It's going to utilize every piece of infrastructure in all parts of the state. That being said, it's going to maintain some jobs that are there. It is new economic development, because let's face it, if we don't get involved in this, if the governor doesn't move forward and this legislature doesn't work in attracting foster farms to Louisiana, to Farmerville, then Pilgrim's Pride goes out. Okay, we're done. So the point is, this is new economic development. It is a wise use and an appropriate use of the mega funds, and we need to get the word out that this is going to affect every stratum of our society, and jobs, education, revenue, everything that goes with that.
Thank you, Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Joe Mapes, the Louisiana Farm Bureau's Legislative Director.